What's up, y'all, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be talking about 5 mistakes that duck hunters make, and we're getting started right now. What's up, y'all, and welcome back to the channel. And like I said, today we're going to be talking about 5 mistakes that duck hunters make. So let's dive in. Tip number 1, they're sharing too much information on social media. I can't tell you how many times I've been scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, which I don't really have, but I've looked at it on my wife's page and whatnot, and people are just on there and they're posting pictures, you know, holding up some ducks, and they're in the parking area. I'm like, dude, don't do that. I mean, I'm kind of flattered that you're bold enough to share that type of information, but you know, a good duck hole, you know, that's pretty valuable to another duck hunter. You know, I'm not an internet troll, but there are people out there who are trolling, surfing the internet, just trying to figure out where you're hunting. Especially if you're getting limits, if you're having good hunts. You know, if you're killing lots of birds, people want to know where you are, especially if they know who you are. So now they want to try to figure out where you hunt. Be careful with that kind of stuff. Don't take pictures in the parking lots. Don't hashtag, you know, where you're at, or don't name it in the comment section. I mean, dude, keep that stuff to yourself. Down here in Alabama where I live, that's redneck law. You don't tell a man where you hunt, and you don't tell a man where you fish, because if you do, he'll be sitting there tomorrow. Tip number 2, hiding the boat or hiding the sled or kayak, whatever you may be using. If you're boating in, like I do a lot, you know, with a regular, you know, aluminum duck boat motor, outboard motor, you got to hide that thing. And I know, and believe me, I know, I've been hunting out of a duck boat my entire duck hunting career for the most part, until I started traveling a few years ago and kind of got into some walk-in hunting. But a duck boat is extremely hard to hide, even if you're hunting out of it. You know, if you got a duck blind on it and things like that, it's still hard to hide. Because the number one thing that makes a duck boat so hard to hide is when God made the world and He made everything in it, He didn't make anything symmetrical. Nothing is perfectly rectangle. Nothing's perfectly round. Nothing's perfectly square. So when humans build things, they want to make it square, perfectly round, rectangle. So here you got this duck boat, which is a perfect rectangle out there. Maybe it's a V-hull and it's got a point on the front. But either way, it is a precise dimension, size, and shape, whereas bushes, trees, those type of things are not. So it stands out bad. So you need to get that thing as far away from you as possible, and once you get it there, you need to cover it up. One thing I try to do, if I'm hunting in the timber and I've got my boat, or if I'm at an old beaver pond or something like that and I've got my boat in there, I try to find a blowdown, you know, a tree that's blowed down, and I try to push that boat. If sometimes I have to cut limbs. If I got to cut some limbs out of the way, I try to push that boat up in that tree, up in those limbs to hide it, and that really seems to help a lot. Same thing with my sleds. One thing I do with my sleds is all of my sleds have a carabiner on the pull rope. So I try to take that, pull it up into a tree, and take that carabiner and that pull rope, wrap it around the tree, hook it back into itself. That way it doesn't float off, the wind doesn't blow it away. Or if you take it up in some bushes, you can take that carabiner and that rope, wrap it around the bush, the main trunk part of the bush. Just a way to help hide that thing. And that makes a huge difference. I know there was one particular hunt this past season, Cade and I were hunting, and the birds kept flaring. They'd work and they'd start dropping in, get cupped up, and all of a sudden they'd flare. And I'm like, dude, I know for a fact they're not seeing us. We were brushed in so thick a panther couldn't get out of it. All over the top of us. I mean, I know they wasn't seeing us. And I looked back to my left, and my sled was shining. Sun was shining on it. It was just a glare. I said, they're seeing that sled. So I got up real quick and I grabbed that sled and I took it about 100 yards behind me, turned it upside down, hid it, threw some limbs on top of it, and then got back in the blind, and we never had any more trouble the rest of the day. So just a few things to keep in mind. Hide that boat, hide that sled, hide that kayak, however you got in there or whatever you use to haul your gear in. Make sure you make just as much effort to hide that as you do yourself. Tip number 3. This is a big one. I'm guilty of it. I've been there many a day, and luckily I have Cade with me who can kind of give me a little slap and get me woke up, get me rattled, and get me back on track. There are many times, and I'm sure you've been there too, you want to get stuck in your comfort zone, or you want to try to keep going. Well, man, let's go over here, man. You know, we've been wearing them out over here. You know, we hadn't hunted in a couple of days. Let's get back over there and see if we can get a good hunt. You know, you try to want to, you get in a rut, and you kind of want to stick to the same general areas. Guys, I'm not saying anything's wrong with it, but that really can put a hinder on your success. Try some new places. It can only make things better. You know, you can always go back and hunt your typical areas, but but branching out and hunting different areas is going to make you a better hunter, because it gets you out of your comfort zone. You're in a new area. You don't know what to expect. You don't know how the birds are going to respond in this area, where they come from in this area, where they like to be in that area. So that's where your scouting comes in. Branch out, do your scouting on new areas, and get out of that comfort zone, because that can really get you in a rut and really cost you some bad hunts, because you don't want to branch out. It's because you don't want to go somewhere that you got to put in the effort to learn a new place. So get out of that rut and get out of your comfort zone. Tip number 4, overthinking your setup. Man, I can't tell you how many times I've been hunting with other people, or I've done it myself. You get your decoys set up before daylight, and you're sitting there, and it's not even shooting time yet, and you're sitting there saying, oh man, we need to move this. I need to get that over there. I know, let's bring this over here. That's too far away. Let's bring that closer. Guys, the sun's not even up yet. The birds ain't flying. Just wait. See how they respond. You're overthinking the situation, you know. And another thing people do with that is they want to go with shapes. You know, they've been taught on Instagram, and they've been taught on Facebook, and they've been taught on YouTube, oh, you need to set your decoys in a J pattern, or an X pattern, or maybe in a little bow or U shape. You know, I stay away from shapes, because when I scout and I see birds, I see a couple birds right here, 2 or 3 over here, 4 or 5 right here. They're just little small groups. They're not any definite shape. Now, I understand the concept behind the shapes. You know, you want to build a wall to stop your birds when they're coming. I get that. I get that. But the thing is, I want to match what I see when I scout. Realism. Realism is what I'm looking for. That's what I want in my decoy spread. So don't overthink it. Just put them out there. You'll be surprised how much success you can have by just throwing the decoys out there and not worrying about it. As long as you've got a little bit of motion on a jerk rig, a little motion on the water, I'm not talking about spinners, but as long as you got a little bit of motion on the water, and you got those decoys out there, and they're in a halfway lifelike group or position, you know, on the water, don't worry about it. It's not that big a deal. People are too quick to want to change the setup, and everybody knows, as soon as you get out of that blind, what happens? Here they come. They start dumping in. Well, now you done missed the opportunity. So look, just stop overthinking your spread. Try your best to set it in a lifelike size, lifelike spread, you know, little small groups here and there scattered out on the water. Get a little motion on the water and let it be, and read the birds and let them tell you if it works or not. Now, the 5th and final tip, I know y'all have been sitting here thinking, Alan, I know you're going to bring this up because everybody does it. And I just think it needs to be preached, you know, and that is too many mechanical decoys. Now, if you go back and watch my videos, after about halfway through December, I pulled the spinner. I never put it back out. I was done with the spinning wing decoys. Not that I thought it didn't work, because I think it does, but I wanted to be different than what everybody else was doing. I know when I did my scouting, all the scouting I did, everybody had a spinner out there. So I said, okay, well, if I can look different than them, I've got a leg up on them. So the only thing I left out there mechanical wise was I left my Higdon pulsator. That's the only mechanical decoy that I ran after probably December the 15th. I think it was somewhere around that time. I didn't run another mechanical decoy after that. That and a jerk rig, and that's about it. And not always together. Sometimes I'd run the jerk rig, sometimes I would only run the pulsator. It just depended on the situation and how much wind I had that day. So guys, but I have been out there scouting, and I know we can all name one person, or we can all name a situation we were in, or an instance we were out scouting and we saw it. There's always seems to be that one person out there. He's got 2 to 3 mojos, spinning wing decoys. He's got a couple of pulsators. I mean, it's just a circus out there on the water. And guys, I'm not saying that won't work, because, you know, hey, motion is motion. Motion, you know, will get the bird's attention and draw them over to you. But I do believe there is a such thing as too much motion. And my thing is, the best motion is lifelike, realistic motion. And those spinners, and especially a whole bunch of them, that's just not lifelike. Now, I know it works phenomenal in a dry field hunting situation, but we're not talking about a dry field. We're talking about on the water. And that just is too much, guys. So don't be that guy out there with 4 or 5 motion spinning wing decoys and butt squirters and, you know, shakers and little mojo, I don't even know what those things are, the flocka flicker things that float on the water and spin. Not saying they don't work, but don't be that guy whose decoy spread looks like a circus. Well, I hope these tips will help you out this upcoming season. More or less, it's just some information to try to have stuck in the back of your mind, so when you're making your setup or you get to the duck hole, it's some things to keep in mind, keep to look for. You know, make sure that boat's hid just as well as you are. Make sure that your decoy spread don't look like a circus with all the mechanical decoys out there. Make sure that once you have a good hunt, you get back to the boat ramp, or you get back to the boat or the tree or whatever it may be, and you start taking all these, you know, strap pics, which is awesome. We all do it, but just bear in mind your location. You know, some people know locations by landmarks, so kind of try to keep that kind of stuff in mind. You don't want the internet trolls coming in there and sliding in on your spot. But that's all I've got for you this week, guys. So until next time, y'all bust them up.